All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started today. I want to thank everyone for joining us at our virtual dementia education workshop. Today, we're really excited to bring the program to you about technology education and specifically navigating MyChart. We know that's a question we get often, and so we're so glad to welcome a team here. I'm Sarah Hatch, and along with Kelly Parsons, we're the social workers here at Sanders Brown. And today, we're excited to welcome a team from UK Healthcare's IT department. Sandra Willoughby will be the one presenting, and she's got a team with her as well. So we'll pass it over to you.
Great. Thank you. As she said, my name is Sandra Willoughby. I am a trainer with the IT education, and with me is my manager, Gulden Smith. And we're going to just give a little presentation about MyChart, the use, access, and navigation of that. And Gulden's going to be monitoring the chat. So if you have some questions along the way, please don't hesitate to put those into the chat. I see that of the one attendee that we have so far, looks like the poll question is that you have used MyChart or another patient portal in the past. I love patient portals. I think they are just a great way of me being able to manage my healthcare. So let's go ahead and look on. We're going to go to my first slide here. What is MyChart? And it is just an online patient portal where you can have secure access to your online, to your health information online. The portal also gives you access to creating or scheduling an appointment if the provider has that ability. It lets you do e-check-in. My favorite part is being able to see test results and visit summaries and my medications, and just being able to have an overall view of what is going on with my health. And I hope that you will find that it is very helpful for you in those instances as well. What we're going to look at first is just how do we get to MyChart? How do we sign up for MyChart? The great thing about MyChart is that you can actually access it from your favorite device. So whether that is a tablet or your phone or a laptop or desktop, if you have access that you like to use, then there is going to be a way for you to get to MyChart from that. You can use a browser like Microsoft Edge or Google Chrome. If you're an Apple user, I think that's called Safari. I'm not an Apple user, so if I misspoke, I apologize. But you can get registered, and we're going to see that registration screen because it does say you want to complete all of the fields that are marked in with a red asterisk. And so I'm going to just give you a quick look at that. But you'll create a username and password. And I know you're like, why? Just another username and password. But it is to make it secure. And one of the things that we'll see or talk about with the apps on your phone is that you can even make it more secure using your face recognition. So then nobody else, you don't have to remember an email or a password. You can just sign in using your face. So you can scan this to get started. But let's go ahead and look at the next screen, because it's talking about filling out all of the registration form, all of the fields that are with the red asterisk. So after we create our username and password, we're going to create our personal information. And so even though it's asking for first, middle, and last name, really, we only have to put in our first and last name. You'll notice our address isn't necessary because it doesn't have the red asterisk, but that is information. The more information you put in, the better we can identify. And your date of birth. I know this screenshot's not a complete screenshot, and that's kind of hard to see down there at the very bottom. But we're putting in information and then just following the on-screen prompts. There'll be a next or a submit for you to continue to move on with the information. So once we get filled in and we get that submitted, we're going to get a verification code to make sure that information that you filled in, like an email address or a phone number, is accurate. We all can mistype. I have a tendency to transpose numbers in particular, even with my own phone number. So getting that verification code is just a way to make sure that your email and your phone number that you've entered, depending on how you request that verification code, is been entered properly. And it just makes sure that you're not getting signed up and then no way to get any kind of notifications or anything that you need back from MyChart. Once you're signed on and you've got everything created, we actually can enable some of those notifications. If you're wanting email notifications, then it is going to want you to put in your email address and then retype that. You can also get text messages. So if I had said yes here on the text message, it would be having these areas lit up with the little red asterisk as well, so that I could fill that information in and get that. If at any point you're having problems and you need more information, or you have a problem here, there's always a way to reach out with the phone number or an email to UK Healthcare's MyChart. So UKHC MyChart at uky.edu, or the 844 number. So so now I've got registered. What next? So now that I have a username and password and I've got my information, then I can access this from a web browser, again, Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, and I can type in mychart.uky.edu. And when I do so, it's going to bring me to this particular screen where I can put in the username and password that I've created. Now, sometimes what happens is we forget our username or password, especially if we're not having to come here on a regular basis. And when that happens, we can use the links right here below the login of forgot username and forgot password. Sometimes I think I remember the username, but I don't. I've had to create it and I don't remember the way I've created it. So I will use the forget username or the forgot username. And what that will do is it's going to ask you some questions, your name, a social security number, a date of birth, things that will identify you so that it can present you with what your username is. And then if you think you've remembered the password, then you can put that username in and password. If you're like me, if you forgot the username, you have most definitely forgot the password as well. So I have to go get the username, and then once I've got that, I'll use the forgot password you put in the username I just retrieved, and go forward then with getting my password reset. So
let me stop you here, Sandra. DC, I don't know your first name. It's do you have any questions up until this point?
Hi, it's Dawn.
Oh, okay, Dawn. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I feel bad that I'm the only one on here and you still have to do this.
That's okay. That's all right. That's why we're here.
I do. So can your username be changed once you have an account?
Yes.
Oh, it can. Okay.
Yeah, you can go to the profile and change your email, your username, as long as you've entered the correct social security number and birth date and your real name, then that is what the system identifies you with. your username can be changed and be whatever you want.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
Do you actually, you said that you used my chart, right? From the survey?
Yes, I do. I actually have an account.
Mhm.
I just don't use it a whole lot
Okay.
yet. So I don't, I'm just.
Well, I'm hoping that you're going to use it a lot because I do personally. I use it for everything. I message my doctor. I go ahead and make appointments. I look at my visits. It's a really great tool. So after this, I hope that you use it more. And I'm sorry I interrupted you, Sandra. Go ahead.
Hey, that's good conversation. I like that.
If I can jump in, so I'm Kayla Staley. I'm actually the IT director that oversees our team that supports the MyChart application. And I just really also wanted to highlight, we talked a little bit about that second round of verification, whether it's through the text message or the email. And one of the questions we oftentimes get from patients is, how do you make sure my information is secure? And so I just really want to highlight that two-factor authentication, or the getting that code and putting it in, is one of those ways that we make sure that you are who you say you are, so that if you do need to go in and change your MyChart username, you have that second level of verification before we allow those changes to happen. So wanted to just call that out. And then really doing this from the mobile app, I highly recommend. It's a lot easier to navigate, in my opinion. I know apps can be overwhelming, but it is really nice if you can just store your facial recognition or your fingerprint, or use the passcode, because we find that individuals that do that have that easier login experience, and it makes it that much quicker to get connected with their information. So wanted to just highlight that when we're talking about the sign-in opportunities.
Yeah, I use the passcode. I use that a lot for a lot of different apps, but particularly the ones I want to keep secure. I find, for whatever reason, I find numbers easier to remember than words. And passcodes that give me that ability. So, yeah. Dawn, don't hesitate to interrupt me at any time if you have a question, since it is just us today.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so I'm going to go on to my next slide here, because it is installing it on your phone, and it can be found in the Google Play Store or the App Store from Apple. And you are looking, searching for MyChart, and this is the little red folder with the heart icon that will allow you to do that. Here are the icons that represent the Google Play or the Apple App Store on your phone, if you're not familiar with that. And then you just install it from those stores and open it. When it asks, you're going to select UK Healthcare, and then you can sign in. Once you have signed in, then setting your Face ID or the passcode will just allow that quicker, easier. I personally, sometimes I get frustrated with the two-factor authentication, but at the same time, I'm very thankful for two-factor authentication, because it does make sure that I am the person trying to sign in to whatever application it is. So not just MyChart has the two-factor, but I personally like that, because even as frustrating as it can be sometimes, it does ensure that it's me. So once we get on now, I'll be honest, I haven't used MyChart too much from the app on my phone, although I did install it when I was preparing for this. I use MyChart mostly from a laptop. I have my personal laptop that I use it the most from. So a lot of our screenshots are going to come from that area. But as she said, the app is just as easy to navigate. But right now, what we're looking at is our home screen. We have our home button here that'll let us get where we need, and we're viewing some general information that we have. All of these different icons will take us to those specific places. And one of the things that we're going to see is that MyChart is going to allow us to maybe get to schedule an appointment in several different places. Just because, that's usually what you're here for, is to either look at an existing appointment or get an appointment. So that schedule an appointment, we can actually do it from here. We'll be able to see that we can do it from visit appointments. And then we have the icons here that let us know that we can schedule with particular providers. You have your exit button, which is the little door with the out arrow up here in the corner. And that just lets you get out of MyChart. So just looking here, we see a visit that is coming up. Actually, it's kind of past, but at the time the screenshot was grabbed, it's coming up. And one of the things that we have the ability to do is e-check-in. I like the ability to e-check-in because it kind of speeds up the process when I actually get to the provider. I can fill out all of the questionnaires that they want, sign documents that they need signed, all of that good stuff right from the privacy of my own home versus sitting in a waiting room and trying to fill all of that information out. So I really like the e-check-in feature. And then you have the view details, which gives you more detailed information about the visit. And then one of the things that you can see here is the icons that let you know your care team and which one of them you can communicate with and or schedule an appointment with straight from MyChart. So if you're not seeing the little calendar looking icon, then that provider doesn't allow you to schedule it from MyChart, but you can communicate with that provider and do messages so that you could try to work with them that way to get an appointment scheduled. So the next screen that we're going to look at is actually going into scheduling an appointment. So we will have selected schedule an appointment. You will notice that the provider screen here does only show me those providers that allow me to schedule an appointment from MyChart.
Hey, Sandra,
I can, yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt
No, don't.
about the homepage.
Uh-huh.
Can you modify it or customize it or change how it looks or the information that you can see on there?
I can take that.
Okay, thank you, because I didn't know. I would assume the little gear lets you do that.
So there is some personalization you can do as far as the look and feel, but the overall layout of the screen and what displays there is not a personal configuration. It should put the most recent or timely information at the top. So it should stay pretty dynamic, but you can't necessarily say you don't want to see certain things in that kind of view. So does that answer the question?
It does, yes.
Perfect. And since Sandra came back to this screen, I'll just highlight, if you want to be a super power user in MyChart, that little search bar that's next to the gear icon. So right above that, that is the magic wonder search bar. So if you actually type in like your provider's name or even say a diagnosis that you had from a visit, it'll actually do kind of a search through all of your medical records and pull up all the pertinent information. So that's one thing that is a newer feature that a lot of folks don't know is there, but it's really, really helpful. Or if you, I mean, we have schedule appointment right there, but if you wanted to say schedule appointment, it would search that and then actually open the menu for you as well. So just know the art of the possible with that search bar is pretty cool.
I did not realize that, so thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, Sandra, right above the
Right in the area here.
Yep. And right next to it, there's the gear. That's where you can change basically your shortcuts and customize a little bit.
Right. Anything else, Miss Dawn?
Not right now. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Now, one other thing is, and I blocked off the name here, your patient name should be right to the left of the name. I actually put a white mark there so we don't see the patient's name.
In this area right here.
Yeah, when you click on your name, it should open up your profile and account settings where you can change your password or change your username, which is what you asked about earlier. So you'll see your picture and your name there with a drop down arrow where you can log out and set up your account settings.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'm sorry, we're just kind of limited here in terms of what I don't want to show any patient names for confidentiality purposes, obviously.
Of course, understand.
Right. All right, so we are again looking at the schedule an appointment, and if we're not wanting to do with a specific provider, we can also look at doing maybe a specific thing with different services here that we can look to try to schedule, which again, I think is pretty neat. Just a reminder though, if you are in a medical emergency, please call 911. MyChart's great. It can't help you in an emergency. So if you are needing immediate help, please call 911, which it says it right here. So you have the need help scheduling. There is a phone number listed here. There's a number for within Lexington and also an 800 number if you're outside Lexington to be able to reach if you need help. So that's great as well.
Do all providers do online scheduling through MyChart?
No,
Most of them do now, but not all of them.
Okay. Yes.
And you'll notice here back on our home screen, this particular provider does not have the ability because she does not have the icon.
Well,
so
that may be that may be a little deceiving, but because we don't have dermatology anymore, but
right.
Yes, it would not appear. There would not be an icon there if especially if you're a new patient, you would not be able to schedule an appointment.
Okay.
And I will say, because we know that it's been a journey of what is and is not available through MyChart, and we've definitely heard the patient feedback that managing appointments online is important to that experience. And so we are going through specialty by specialty and looking at all of the different types of visits that those providers offer, and then trying to enable as many of those for online scheduling as we can. But also thinking creatively beyond those in-office visits, how we can also do virtual care or things that might connect you with those providers in different ways. So be patient with us. It's a process, but there are definitely more options coming soon.
Sounds nice.
Dawn, have you been to urgent care before?
I have not.
Okay. Well, the one thing I do want to point out is urgent care will sometimes take appointments. If you need to go to urgent care, you can make your appointment here as well. Just go to primary care and select urgent care, primary care, and you can certainly make your appointment for urgent care as well as other provider appointments.
Nice to know. I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah. Cool. Because then you don't have to wait in the waiting room.
Right. That's always a plus.
Which I think is also a plus about e-check-in. The less time I have to be in the waiting room, the better. All right. Any other questions on scheduling an appointment?
No.
All right. So we're going to look at messages next. So the message center is where you're going to find your messages. If you need to send a message, when you click that, it's actually going to bring up this little box that's over here where I can see if it's a message about scheduling an appointment or requesting a medication renewal. If it's a customer service question about insurance or other concerns, or if it's just a general medical question, you can choose your option there as you start your message. And then once you have that message started, there are conversations, and you can see those conversations and get the responses. And kind of like email type thing. If you're getting your notifications that you have a message, then you know when the providers or the person has responded, so you can go look at their message.
Is there any, I don't know, maybe guidance? Is it better to call in and try to speak to a nurse if you have a question? Or is it better to send a message?
Personally, I send a message because then I don't have to wait in line and wait on the phone. And if it's a simple question like, hey, I have this pain, what should I do? Or something like that, they will go ahead and respond to you within 24 to 72 hours. If it's not an emergency, I'll go ahead and email them. I will for certain email them for refills, my medication refills.
Okay.
So those types of things can be through email very quickly. And, you don't have to deal with just trying to call, hanging on the phone, trying to get to the right person, that kind of.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
I'm like Gulden. I use it for medication refills more frequently than I do just generally questions. Mine is the medication refills.
Okay.
So yeah, but you can keep up with those and you can manage them. So if you've gotten the information that you need, you can manage them accordingly, by removing them or closing them out if they're no longer needed. But the information is there.
Okay.
So this person, if you look at the bottom, this person wrote possible rescheduling of the appointment at the bottom. So it says, my appointment is scheduled for January 22nd. Is there a possibility to move that to Friday, the 24th as to a telehealth appointment? So you can email them to ask those types of questions too, and they respond pretty quickly. That's easier than calling and trying to reschedule and having them look. You're directly talking to the provider or their nurse, their staff, that they can respond very quickly.
Okay. Good to know.
Great. Well, then let's move on to looking at visits. This screen's kind of drawn out, but here's where we can see that it's kind of elongated there. But we can see where we could schedule a visit. schedule an appointment from here as well. So again, another way to actually get to the scheduling of appointments. We can see our upcoming appointments or any past appointments. Again, with the e-check-in from here, if we want to, reviewing details. The part about the past appointments is being able to view after visit summaries and the provider's clinical notes, getting to see the information that was talked about, payment. Ooh, I don't know where that came from. Patient plans, if there is a plan for treatment, those type of things, we can see all of that in here. And that makes, again, my control of my information. And maybe, I wanted, in talking with the provider, I couldn't remember if I asked a specific question or if it was talked about. I can go back and look, and then if I need to message the provider about something that was specific in that a particular appointment, then I can use that information to do so. And that personally is something that I like about all of this.
One thing that I did want to point out, and it just dawned on me, is up at the top, it says organization and show, and they default to all. If it is that you have been to or go to different organizations, let's say to Baptist Health and to UK Healthcare, you can actually choose the visits that you're looking for. And you can also show or filter past or present appointments. So you can filter it that way too.
So Kelly, oh, sorry, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say that's nice. So that's what's meant by different organizations, like in your example, Baptist Health, and
Yes.
all of that information would be in my chart.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So this particular slide, the past visits actually came from my chart. And you can see that St. Joe also uses my chart. So I actually have two different my charts, because I do have the one with St. Joe and I do have the one with UK. And I can see my past visits are from there. Some of the other screenshots we've been seeing have been from other patients, but this one is actually specifically mine. But I think that is pretty cool. And as far as the after visit summary, I not specifically looked at one, but I think that does give us more detailed information about things that was talked about in the visit. Am I correct on that, Gulden?
After visit summary is just basically the note that the physician has documented, or the documentation that the provider has completed after the appointment. So basically it says who you are, what your diagnosis is, what the treatment plan is for you. Everything that you've discussed in your environment is listed there.
Yeah.
So pretty much your treatment plan, your medications you're on, any new prescribed medications, follow-up appointments if there need be. So pretty much a detailed visit summary.
How long will past visits stay in my chart?
I have past visits from 2008 or 9 or somewhere there. So.
Yeah, they're there indefinitely, right? It's your health information. And so we want to make sure that that information continues to be available. So there's no limitations there. And just wanted to add on the multi MyChart account experience. Epic recognizes the barriers and the burden that's putting on our patients to remember all their usernames and passwords or have multiple accounts. So they really are trying to streamline that so that, things like this, where they're all integrated into one view, And hopefully someday we're getting to one sign-in so that you can access all of your different health systems through one login is the end game. So
Nice.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else, Don?
Nope, not right now.
Okay, looks like we have a late attend. Oh, it got into. Okay, so let's go on to test results. This is my favorite screen, because you get to view so much about the different. So you find the test, you can look at the results, you can view trends, you can get additional information. You can go back to the list of test results so you can pick another one. Compare result trends. There's just so many things that you can do from the test results. And this was, one of the test results that I had from one of my other visits was some blood work. And I noticed that although my provider did not think that I was anemic, there was some results there that was showing that blood counts weren't like they were supposed to. And I was actually able to look at my results before I went to the provider, and I was able to have a conversation with my provider about that. And we came up with an idea of why it was that way, because I am a blood donor. I do donate every chance I get. And so we kind of figured out that that was what was going on. And so in order for my body to recover, we came up with, let's stop donating for a little bit and take a multivitamin. And so I was able to be prepared for my visit, because I got to see my test results before I got to the visit. And so this test results are my favorite screen of all the things that I can do with my chart. So do you have any
You have to
questions?
be careful with the test results because the first ones you see may be immediate. Sometimes I see my blood result within an hour, depending on how easy it is to run.
Mhm.
But all of the results first come across as preliminary and have not been verified by a provider yet, but you just see them anyway. So it may be a little, the accuracy may be a little off. It's not going to be way off to where it's going to be startling, but it may be a little off and it may not be verified yet. And the second thing I caution everybody is, and we're not medical. So I don't know. I mean, it says abnormal. Okay, so it's abnormal. How abnormal it is, what is it? Yeah, it's very nice. Like Sandra said, I do want to go in there, at least ask questions. Why is this abnormal? What can I do to make it normal? Those types of questions. But I'm not going to adjust what I do without talking to my
To
doctor
the provider.
or try to treat myself. So we have to kind of be cautious of that.
Well, and you may also find, as with that particular result, abnormal is actually normal. That's what they look for.
Mhm.
They want that result to be abnormal.
Or
And-
negative.
Or
versus
negative, right?
positive.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
what I,
Results. Oh, if I can, results is one of the highest utilized features in my chart, no doubt. And I know that this is really more of like the basics of my chart navigation, primarily from an ambulatory perspective. But I would be remiss if I don't highlight that we do have an inpatient MyChart bedside experience that's becoming available across the health system. And the ability to see those results real time on an inpatient basis is really, really powerful for our patients as well. And so I just want to highlight that feature set because on the inpatient side, results is the top utilized feature. So and it looks and feels the same for both care settings, which I think is important from a navigation perspective too.
and although Gulden's right, we need to be cautious about how we see these because we're I like to say Sandy WebMD, you know, that's me when I'm trying to diagnose my friends and talking to them about their symptoms. But I think that it provides me a tool that I can talk to my provider about maybe results that they didn't even deem worthy to talk about. But for me, it was something that concerned me and I wanted to talk. So it enables me or empowers me to have that conversation with my provider, that not being able to see those results in the past, I didn't even know that maybe something was abnormal and, oh, that was the right way, you know, it should be looking at or something. So, Dawn, did you have a question? I think you got talked over a minute ago.
No, not really. I was going to ask about, you know, the results and what happens if you see something that startles you, you know, before your doctors even had a chance to look at it. So the caution there about results is kind of where I was going with that.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
You know, unless you have medical training, none of these numbers make any sense just to look at them. But to be able to get additional information and be prepared with a list of questions and actually have a meaningful conversation with your provider, I think that this is what that opens up, is just for me to ask some questions and get and take control of my health, of the way I want to be treated by healthcare in general.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Well, then let's go on to medications. So these are the medications, and here again, you're going to see the chart from MyChart, because we can see that I do have St. Joe listed here as well. But the medications you tell them that you're taking versus the ones that they have prescribed for you. And if you need to manage your pharmacy, if you need to get, renewals or things like that, you can learn more information about the different medications that are listed to see what they do or what they're treated for. If you need to update your list of pharmacies, you can go to Manage My Pharmacies. I didn't put a box around that, and I should have, so that you can manage which pharmacies that you actually get your medications at. So again, it just gives you that at a glance look of what you've got, to learn more information or talk to your provider about what you're taking and make sure that you understand why you're taking each of your different medications.
Now, the nice thing about the UK meds or the visits for UK is that it actually tells you the dosages and how the frequency you should be taking those too. So it's informational. It actually displays it for you, all the details, including the provider who actually wrote that prescription. So you can actually, if you kind of forget or you aren't sure what dosage to take, you can certainly go to the site and look at that.
Do we have any other questions on that?
Not for me.
All right, so are getting close to the end, because the next thing we're going to look at is billing, where we could see billing information. You can see that this particular one is opted out of getting paper. They're only paperless. And then so you can get an email or a text notification that you have a bill ready. And then if you had a bill here, you could see the balance, see the details, pay the bill, which is, for me, is nice because I can do that again from one place. And I can tie it back to the visit, and I can go look at that visit if I need to. So it does give you a lot of control again. And I can, if I needed to message about that particular bill, I could go back to messages and talk to a customer service send a message to customer service and include information from that billing to get questions answered about specific information I'm seeing, and then ultimately pay the bill from here. So, any
So
questions?
you can pay the bill online from there?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
For me,
Yeah, I don't owe anything, so. But yes, you can.
let
And
me-
it's a secure portal for paying. Just like if you were checking out at Amazon, there's security there with PCI compliance and things like that. So
Okay.
And you can even save, like, if you have like a health savings account or a particular credit card that you like to use for your healthcare transactions, you can save that payment method so that the next time you get a statement, it'll just ask if you want to use that. It saves some of that rework. And then we're also layering on new features where it'll actually be able to be like text to pay or things like that as well. And having that stored method will make that a lot easier.
I
No.
like text to pay.
And it's encrypted. Sometimes I'm leery about saving a card on a site. So
Yes, understood. It is just like saving it's as secure as your financial information on a banking site is the same type of standards that we have for the MyChart payment security.
okay.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions on billing specifically?
No.
Well, then I am to my last slide, which is just questions in general. Again, we have a website here on YouTube where you can watch more videos about MyChart. But I'm open to any questions at this point.
I don't think I've got anything else. Been very helpful.
We've had some latecomers. Do you have any questions? I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Uwide? Wayde? I'm so sorry.
Right. If there are no more questions, I found out so many new different things. The magical search bar, the inpatient availability if you're inpatient at UK Hospital with the results, and sharing outside with outside providers. The Epic electronic health record system is really great. I had no idea. So thank you all.
Very welcome.
Thank you for having us. And Dawn, I appreciate your great questions and engagement.
Yes.
And I think it was really good to hear what was top of mind for you, so that we can make sure we're designing and supporting the system with the patient at the heart.
Well, thank you all. It was very helpful, and I'm looking forward to that text to pay.
I'll make sure I keep telling everyone. I'm going to be like, I talked to Dawn and Dawn was ready for it.
Let's go. Let's
Go.
go. Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.